Am I the idiot for recording my cousin's fiancé making a move on me and now considering showing her the video? Throwaway account for obvious reasons, because I'm pretty sure half my family is on Reddit, and this whole situation is such a mess right now. I, female, 27, am honestly at a complete loss about what to do here, and I've been going back and forth about whether I should even post this, but I'm desperate for some outside perspective. So my cousin Julie, female, 25, and I have always been super close, like practically sisters growing up. I'm only 2 years older, so we did everything together. Shared clothes, went to the same schools, had sleepovers every weekend, you know the drill. I've always been kind of protective of her. Maybe too protective sometimes, I don't know. About 14 months ago, Julie met this guy Victor, male, 32, at our mutual friend's birthday party. She had just gotten out of this really toxic relationship with her ex, who cheated on her like 3 times, and she kept taking him back until I literally showed up at her apartment with boxes and helped her move out. She was definitely not looking for anything serious when Victor came along. Victor works in commercial real estate and makes really good money. Not that that matters, but it's relevant later, I guess. He's the type who's super charming and confident and knows exactly what to say to everyone. Julie really fell for him fast. He was doing all these grand gestures right from the start, sending these massive flower arrangements to her work, taking her on weekend trips, the whole thing. Everything moved crazy fast. They were exclusive after like 2 weeks, moved in together at 6 months, and then got engaged at 10 months. Okay, so here's where it gets complicated. I've had reservations about Victor from basically the beginning, but I mostly kept them to myself because Julie seemed so happy, and honestly, I was worried she'd think I was just being overprotective again. There were just these moments that made me uncomfortable, like he would stand way too close to me at family gatherings, or make these comments about my appearance when Julie wasn't around. That dress really shows off your figure, or your workout routine is obviously paying off. There were also times when he'd accidentally brush against me in ways that felt deliberate, like reaching past me for something and pressing against my back for a second too long. I tried to hint to Julie a couple times that something felt off, but she just brushed it off like, oh, he's just really friendly, or you're being overprotective again. Her parents absolutely adore Victor because his family is apparently well-connected and they've known them socially for years. They're always talking about what a catch he is and how Julie is so lucky. Oh, and side note, Julie and I were supposed to go on this girls' trip to Miami last summer that we'd been planning forever, but she canceled last minute because Victor surprised her with a trip to Napa Valley the same weekend. I was disappointed, but didn't make a big deal about it. This has happened with like 3 other plans we made too. Anyway, last weekend was their engagement party at this really upscale restaurant downtown. I was helping Julie with all the preparations and stuff. I know this sounds contradictory, but despite my concerns, I was trying to be supportive because what else could I do? She was so happy, and I didn't have any real evidence that Victor was sketchy, just my gut feeling. During the party, I got this urgent call from work. I'm in marketing, and we had this campaign launching the next day with some issues, so I stepped out to this quiet hallway area to take the call. When I finished and was putting my phone away, Victor suddenly appeared in the hallway. He seemed a little drunk. Not wasted, but definitely had a few. He was like, "There you are, I've been looking for you." And I just said something like, "Oh, I was just heading back to the party." But then he stepped closer, kind of blocking my path back to the main room. I got really worried because something about his body language felt off. Then he said, "You look beautiful tonight, even prettier than the bride-to-be." And I started freaking out. I awkwardly thanked him and tried to move past him, but he put his hand on my waist and pulled me closer. I stiffened up and was like, "What are you doing?" And he said something along the lines of, "I've always found you attractive. Julie doesn't need to know." At this point, I was like, oh shit, this is actually happening. And because of all those previous uncomfortable moments, I discreetly pulled out my phone and started recording. I had this gut feeling I might need proof later. I don't know if that was wrong, but I'm so glad I did it now. He leaned in trying to kiss me, and I pushed him away and said, "You're engaged to my cousin." And the way his face changed was so scary. It went from this look of desire to just anger. Like he was pissed that I rejected him. He just muttered, "Your loss," and then straightened his tie and walked back to the party like nothing happened. I was literally shaking, but tried to act normal when I went back in. I had no idea what to do. Should I tell Julie right away and ruin her engagement party? Should I wait and tell her privately later? Victor was being extra affectionate with Julie for the rest of the night, like constantly touching her and kissing her in front of everyone, and it made me feel sick. About an hour later, I noticed Victor and Julie talking intensely in the corner. She looked upset and kept looking over at me. Then they both started walking over to where I was standing with some family members. Before I could even process what was happening, Victor announced to everyone that I had tried to kiss him in the hallway and had been flirting with him for months because I was jealous of their relationship. I was in complete shock. I immediately denied it, but Julie was already crying and saying things like, "How could you do this to me?" I tried to explain what actually happened, but Victor kept cutting me off, and Julie's parents were glaring at me. Uncle Carl actually asked me to leave the party. My own uncle. It's been 3 days, and I've been getting these horrible texts and calls from family members saying I'm trying to ruin Julie's happiness because I'm jealous and always need to be the center of attention, which is not true. I've been single by choice, focusing on my career for the past year. Last night, I was scrolling through my phone trying to distract myself and realized I still had the video of the entire hallway incident. You can clearly see and hear everything. Him approaching me, making the comments, trying to kiss me, everything. I'm debating whether I should send it to Julie. On one hand, she deserves to know what kind of man she's about to marry. On the other hand, I'm worried she won't believe me anyway and will think I somehow manipulated the video or something, and her parents will probably find some way to spin it too. So, am I the idiot for recording the interaction in the first place? And would I be the idiot if I sent her the video evidence? Edit. A lot of people are asking if I'm close with any other family members who might believe me. Julie's sister Kay, female 23, and I are pretty close too, but she's studying abroad right now and hasn't been around for most of Victor's sketchy behavior. To clarify about the recording, we were in a hallway of a restaurant, not a bathroom or private room. It's a public space. And I only started recording when he was already being inappropriate because of all the previous incidents. Someone asked if there were any other red flags with Victor. Now that I think about it, Julie used to be super close with her college roommate Mark. They were always just friends. But about 3 months into dating Victor, she suddenly stopped hanging out with him. When I asked why, she just said, "Victor thinks it's disrespectful for me to have close male friends now that we're serious." Thanks for all the responses. I'm reading everything and trying to figure out what to do. One person suggested sending the video to Julie first, before anyone else, which is probably the right approach, rather than blasting it to the whole family. I just hope she actually watches it. Now for the first update. First, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who commented on my last post. I was honestly in such a bad headspace when I wrote it, and reading all your advice and support really helped me feel less crazy. So after I posted, I decided the best approach was to reach out to Julie directly and try to handle this privately. I texted her asking if we could talk, and oh boy, the response I got back was not great. She basically sent this long paragraph about how I was clearly jealous of her relationship and trying to sabotage her happiness, and that I always had to make everything about me, which is honestly so ridiculous because Julie has always been the jealous one between us, not me. Like when we were teenagers and I got asked to prom first, she literally didn't speak to me for a week. Or when I got into my first choice college and she didn't. But whatever, that's not really the point right now. Anyway, I realized there was no way she was going to listen to me explain over text. So I just replied with, "This is what actually happened," and attached the video. Then nothing. Radio silence. For almost a whole day. In the meantime, I started getting these really weird messages from some of our mutual friends saying things like, "I can't believe you would do that to Julie," and "Victor told us you've been making inappropriate comments to him for months." I was shocked. This guy was seriously working to twist the story before Julie even had a chance to process the video. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Julie and Victor just put down this huge deposit on a house they can't really afford like 2 weeks ago. It's way above their budget, but Victor insisted they needed to invest in real estate or whatever. Julie's parents helped with the deposit money, So there's like this extra pressure now for her to make this relationship work, which is just great timing. The worst part came when my aunt and uncle, Julie's parents, called me. That conversation was honestly devastating. When they called, my aunt and uncle were super disappointed in me. They wouldn't let me explain and kept defending Victor, saying he's been wonderful to the family. My uncle brought up past times I supposedly created problems at family events. Those were completely different situations, by the way. The graduation thing was a misunderstanding about gift arrangements, and the birthday thing wasn't even my fault. I was getting so frustrated that I just sent them the video while we were still on the call. Even after watching it, my aunt still said it didn't prove anything, and my uncle said they needed to talk to Victor and get his side before deciding anything. When I asked if they'd seriously believe Victor over their own niece and video evidence, my aunt just hung up. I was completely devastated. These people have known me my entire life, and they still wouldn't believe me, even with literal video proof. Later that night, I got a text from Julie asking to meet in person. We met at a coffee shop the next day. She looked exhausted. At our meeting, I told Julie I was sorry about the situation, but not sorry for defending myself. Julie said Victor told her I'd been flirting with him for months, and the video only showed him trying to let me down gently. I reminded her about all the times I'd told her Victor made me uncomfortable. She started crying and said she didn't know what to believe. When I asked why she'd trust Victor over me after 27 years of being family, she said Victor suggested I might have edited the video. I offered to show her the original file with metadata to prove it wasn't edited, but she just said she needed time to think and left quickly. Since then, our entire family has taken sides. It's honestly reminding me of that huge fight 5 years ago when Uncle Carl's brother got caught cheating. The only person who's reached out to support me is Julie's younger sister, Kay. She texted me saying she's always felt weird around Victor, but didn't want to upset Julie by saying anything. She's studying abroad right now, so she's kind of removed from all the immediate issues. And then yesterday, things got even worse. Victor is now threatening legal action against me for recording him without consent and defamation. I immediately called my friend Emma, who's a lawyer, and she assured me that in our state, recording conversations you're part of is completely legal, and it's not defamation if it's true. I'm just so frustrated and hurt. I have literal video evidence, and Victor is still somehow spinning this and making people doubt me. How is this even possible? Then this morning, Julie texted saying she and Victor are going to couples counseling, but that they're still continuing with the wedding planning. She asked me to delete the video and move forward as a family, and suggested I should apologize to Victor for the misunderstanding. Apologize to Victor? Are you kidding me? For what? For not letting him cheat on my cousin with me? For having the audacity to record his disgusting behavior? For not letting him get away with lying to everyone? I'm seriously considering just sending the video to our entire family group chat at this point. But I'm worried about what that would do to my relationship with Julie and everyone else. Victor has them all so tricked, and I just don't know what to do anymore. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I've shown the video to any of our other family members besides Julie and her parents. I haven't yet, mainly because I was trying to respect Julie's wishes to handle this privately, but obviously that's not working out so well. To the people suggesting I just let it go and prioritize family harmony, would you seriously be able to sit at family gatherings for the next 20 plus years with someone who tried to cheat with you and then lied about it, and watch your cousins slowly get isolated and manipulated? Because I don't think I can. Someone asked about Julie's behavior in past relationships. She definitely has a pattern of ignoring red flags and forgiving people way too easily. Her ex, who cheated on her 3 times, she only finally left him when I physically helped her move out. Before that, she kept believing his excuses every single time. I'm worried this is just history repeating itself in an even worse way. For those asking why I think Victor is so fixated on me specifically, I honestly have no idea. We've never had any kind of connection or private conversations. My theory is that I'm just one of the few people who hasn't fallen for his charm act, and maybe that bugs him. Or maybe it's just because I'm close to Julie and he wants to drive a wedge between us. I really don't know. Now for the second update. So it's been almost 3 weeks since my last post, and holy shit, A lot has happened. A ton of you said I should just blast the video to everyone, and while I totally get why you suggested that, and spoiler alert, that basically ended up happening anyway, I was still trying to respect Julie's wishes at first. After my last post, I decided to step back a little. Julie had made it pretty clear she wanted to work things out with Victor. And was only communicating with me through these super brief, formal texts like, "Thank you for your concern, and we're handling this privately." It was so weird getting these messages from someone I've literally known my entire life. This whole situation was seriously messing with my head. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. I actually missed this huge deadline at work because I was so distracted, and my boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I didn't tell him the full story, just said I was dealing with some family stuff. He was actually pretty understanding, which was a relief because I seriously cannot afford to lose my job right now with my lease renewal coming up next month and rent increases and everything. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, I got this call from Julie's sister Kay out of nowhere. She's still studying abroad, but she said she needed to tell me something important. Turns out, Victor had made a move on one of Julie's bridesmaids, Teresa, at this wedding planning dinner like a week ago. Kay said Teresa had called her freaking out about it, but was scared to tell Julie directly because of how she reacted to my situation. I was like, weirdly relieved. Not that it happened to Teresa, obviously. That's terrible. But just that I wasn't the only one, you know? Like I finally had confirmation I wasn't crazy or making this up or whatever Victor was telling everyone. I was super torn about what to do though. Part of me was like, see, I told you so. But I also didn't want to seem like I was just being vindictive or trying to ruin Julie's relationship out of spite. After thinking about it for a couple days, and honestly, after reading through all your comments again for perspective, I decided to reach out to Teresa directly. We met at this little cafe across town where we figured we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. Teresa seemed super nervous the whole time, like constantly checking her phone and looking around. I tried to make her feel comfortable and told her whatever she said would stay between us if that's what she wanted. Teresa told me what happened. Victor had cornered her in the coat check area at the restaurant while Julie was in the bathroom. He suggested they should get to know each other better, or something gross like that. Teresa said she laughed it off at first, thinking he was just making a weird joke. But then he put his hand on her waist and whispered something sexual in her ear. She made up some excuse about needing to find her purse and got out of there fast. When I asked if she'd be willing to tell Julie about this, she hesitated. She didn't want to ruin her friendship with Julie, which I totally get because Julie has not exactly been receptive to this kind of information so far. I decided to tell Teresa about my experience and mentioned I had it on video. She seemed shocked and said Victor had been telling people I'd been obsessively pursuing him for months. I was furious. I showed her part of the video on my phone and she started tearing up, saying she should have known better than to believe Victor's version. After talking for like 2 hours, we decided we needed to approach Julie together. We invited Julie to my apartment and asked Kay to join on video chat for support. When Julie showed up and saw all of us there, well, Kay on my laptop, she looked so confused and then got this look of dread on her face, like she knew something bad was coming. She asked if this was an intervention, trying to sound jokey, but you could tell she was freaking out. I tried to be gentle and just said we needed to talk about Victor. She immediately got defensive, saying she thought this was resolved and that they were working on things in couples counseling. Teresa was so nervous telling her story, she kept stopping and starting and looking at me for support. Julie's face when she heard it. First shock, then this skeptical look. She asked Teresa why she didn't tell her sooner, and Teresa just stammered something about being afraid of her reaction. Then Kay said 2 other friends had messaged her about uncomfortable interactions with Victor too. I had no idea about this part until that moment. Julie started crying and accused us of conspiring against her relationship. I asked her why we would all independently have similar stories about Victor if there wasn't some truth to it. She just kept saying her wedding was in 4 months and everything was already paid for, and her parents would be so disappointed. I reminded her that marriage would make leaving Victor way more complicated if she ever needed to, and Teresa apologized for not speaking up sooner. Julie asked to see my video again. She'd only watched it once before quickly. I played the whole thing and pointed out details she might have missed before, like how he blocked my path and how his whole demeanor changed when I rejected him. After watching it, Julie just sat there in silence for what felt like forever. Then she finally admitted Victor had been getting more controlling lately. She said he checks her phone all the time and gets mad when she talks to male colleagues. She even said he's been trying to convince her that I've always been jealous of her, which is ridiculous. We've never had that kind of relationship. Oh, and get this. She actually quit her marketing job last month, the one she was so excited about getting last year. Apparently, Victor thought her boss was too friendly with her. I had no idea until she told us that day. She'd told everyone else it was because she wanted to focus on wedding planning. Julie completely broke down after that. Kay was still on video chat, just crying along with her sister, and it was honestly heartbreaking. Julie admitted she'd been in denial because she was so embarrassed about possibly having another failed relationship. Victor had been telling her that all her friends who expressed concerns were either jealous or secretly interested in him. He was isolating her from everyone. I was so mad at him, but also just devastated for her. Julie wanted to confront Victor right away, but we convinced her that might not be safe given how he'd reacted to rejection before. Instead, she called her parents from my apartment. This time, they actually listened, especially after hearing there were multiple stories from different women. Her dad was livid. Julie ended up breaking up with Victor via text while she was still at my apartment with all of us there supporting her. She just told him she knew what he did with Teresa and had seen my video again and that they were done. Victor's reaction was insane. First came like 20 phone calls in a row that Julie ignored. Then these threatening texts saying she was making a huge mistake and would regret her decision. When that didn't work, he switched to apologies saying he needed help for his issues and begging for another chance. And when that didn't work, he started telling mutual friends that Julie was breaking up with him because of her controlling family and that I had always hated him and was poisoning Julie against him. Some people actually believed him, which is just, I can't even. Everything came to a head that weekend at my aunt's birthday gathering. We weren't expecting Victor to show up, but he just appeared out of nowhere. My Uncle Carl tried to get him to leave, but Victor created this whole scene. He started loudly accusing me of being a homewrecker and manipulating everyone against him. He was saying all this crazy stuff about how I had been pursuing him for months and was just jealous of Julie. People were staring, and Julie was literally frozen in shock. I made a split-second decision. With Julie frantically nodding her permission, I connected my phone to the Bluetooth speaker my aunt had set up for music and played the video. The entire video. With everyone there, including some of Victor's friends and family who he'd brought along, probably for moral support. Lol, that backfired. The silence afterward was deafening. Victor tried to say it was taken out of context, but you could literally hear him in the video saying, "Julie doesn't need to know." His own mother looked horrified. Julie's dad finally stepped up and told Victor he needed to leave immediately or he would call the police. The aftermath has been complicated. Julie is in therapy now, working through everything. She admitted to me later that Victor had been isolating her from friends for months, always finding reasons why people were bad influences or disrespectful to their relationship. We're slowly rebuilding our relationship, though there's still some healing to be done. I think part of her still feels embarrassed that she didn't believe me at first, but I keep telling her that's exactly how these manipulative people work. 2 more women have actually come forward since then with similar stories about Victor, one from his workplace and one who knows him through his brother. I feel validated, but also just sad that he's hurt so many people. I have really mixed feelings about how everything turned out. I'm relieved that the truth finally came out and Julie is safe, but I'm sad that my cousin had to go through this pain. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little hurt that she didn't believe me initially. Some of our family members still seem weird around me too, like they think I somehow enjoyed publicly exposing Victor or something. Like, yeah, I totally enjoyed having my character assassinated and being called a liar for weeks. Super fun experience.